Blindspot Season 2, Episode 21, Mom. Now, of course, this is the episode leading up to the season finale, and I certainly think it was a pretty amazing episode. They did a lot of crazy stuff. We got the loss of a character. We have, like, the main... I still don't remember what that guy's position was, if I'm being totally honest. He showed up in this episode, and I was like, oh yeah, that guy exists. Like, he shows up, like, every 8 episodes or something. So I always forget about him until he shows up. And I still don't remember exactly what his position was, but sadly he does get killed alongside a few other, they're random nameless characters, but quite a few people get killed in this episode. We have the threat that Zapata could have been killed in this episode, but of course she seems to be fine by the end of it, which is obviously great. We have Roman deciding, even with his memories coming back, he's going to go back to Shepard because he does remember that she tried to kill him, and I was very curious when he was going through all the flashes after he had his fight with Jane. He was having all these flashes, but he didn't seem to have the very specific one of him pointing at Shepard. But when they do end up running into each other, the first thing he does say is like, one of the first things at least is like, you tried to kill me. Like, are you sure you're happy to see me? Because you did try to shoot me. So he still had that memory, but he still decided to work with her. And so that was very unfortunate to see because I'm like, I know he's kind of thrown into the middle, so he's remembering lots of different things, and we find out with him having only one dose, that's why he's basically remembering everything at once, because Jane had like a ton of it, which is why she still doesn't feel like the exact same person, but she can still have flashes. And for him, it was the same thing, just on a much shorter scale, because he only had that one, that singular dose. So it took him out of it for a while, and he had flashes here and there, but now he's basically back to the exact same character. So definitely an interesting sort of transition for his character, going from just the evil brother to kind of the good brother, and then sadly he remembers it, so he goes back to being evil, and he fully goes back to it because he does decide to work with Shepard by the end. So I was like, man, that really sucks to see him kind of go full circle back to being a full-on villain again. But who knows, maybe he'll switch things up, maybe he'll try to take over, maybe he'll kill Shepard or give her up, because in the promo it does seem like she ends up being captured. So maybe that's his thing. Maybe that's his way of getting revenge, but he still doesn't want to be around Jane and everyone else, because it's like, well, you guys totally lied to me, especially his own sister. So I am curious how they're going to do that, if he will be completely on Shepard's side, or if he might try to give her up to be like, alright, well, it was kind of my way out because I didn't want to be locked in a prison anymore, but I definitely don't want you to get what you want, so I'm going to pass you off to them. So maybe that's how it's going to happen in the finale. Maybe not, but either way, it was a nice story to see him. It sucked to see it, but it was still really cool the way they did it, where he kind of has to make a decision. Is he going to be the guy who had his memories and tried to kill Jane, and so he's just imprisoned again? Or is he going to get broken out, and then he goes back with his mother? So I like the way they did that. The entire episode, kind of just the intensity of it, I really, really enjoyed. We have Jane and Weller going to this crazy random site that ends up being an exact replica of their office. So it's like, alright, well, we knew that was happening because of the promo, but when they walked in, I was just like, whoa, I didn't expect them to have, for some reason, it should have been obvious to me considering their resources and stuff like that, should have been obvious that they would be able to get all the schematics of the office and have a complete replica. But it was really cool. They first go in there, and then there's still someone up in the rafters kind of waiting for them. So some random person gets killed off, but they end up taking the guy down, and it was just really good. I was like, okay, well, they're, kind of trapped off. Well, they weren't really trapped. They were just away from the office, but it's like, all right, well, we know something bad is happening. That means an attack is imminent. They found a couple of other clues. So as they're taking off, that's, of course, when the attack strikes, and things just get super chaotic. We see characters being killed off. Unfortunately, the girl who is trying to save the main guy, I really wish I could remember his position, but she gives up the code. She gives up Weller's code. It checks out, and unfortunately, she lives, but the guy does end up being killed by Shepard, and so they move out to Patterson's lab. She does pretty much everything she can in this episode to slow them down, and it was really good. Like, she's going through turns of Zapata at first, so it's like, alright, well, basically send everything into reboot so that if they try to move it, it could, fry everything. So they take off, they go to the armory. We end up seeing Reed join them, which I don't know where he was at. That kind of interested me because clearly he was safe, but he left. He was like in the big crowd of people during the beginning of the episode. But maybe his whole thing was like, well, I have training compared to some of the other people who might do like, computer work or something. he has a bit more training, kind of field work. And some people may have just freaked out, maybe he thought something in general was happening compared to everyone else, because not everyone is like really in on the case as far as like specific details as to what Sandstorm is doing. So it was just interesting. He ends up showing up, he helps him out. They kind of hunker down, and Patterson sets off this. I forgot exactly what it was. Something that I have no relation to as far as technology. But they set it off to try to stop them, and of course that's what leads to the kind of crazy shootout that they have in this very small hallway. It was actually pretty cool how it was like so compact. But that was a really good scene. And then of course after they take everybody down, seemingly, Zapata ends up being shot. But fortunately, she's fine. Like when it first happened, it looked like someone was like shot in the head. Like it was just like a splatter of blood, and I couldn't exactly tell what happened. And it was like, okay, so she was shot like in the side, especially because the way she was standing, I kind of thought it just shot like straight through her or something crazy like that. But it was like, okay, she's not instantly dead, because that's the first thing I thought. I was like, considering the way she was standing, I thought it kind of just went straight through her. So I was like, okay, that's good that it was like a simple shot like that. Unfortunately, of course, by the end, she does end up surviving. So that was definitely great. But it was a really crazy episode. They go through all this crazy stuff, and by the end, we find out that there were basically attacks on a lot of different offices, and there were still some people that died, but fortunately, Patterson was able to make the phone call, and she was able to get a lot of people evacuated from the building. So 0 civilian casualties, and there were minimal officer casualties. So definitely a great success for them, but there's still like that last little bit, of course, where we have Shepard, still going on to the next step of her plan. So it was pretty nuts, because we find out at the end when things just get super weird and like these random people come in and it's like, hey, we need to talk with Weller. So he goes in and he realizes that he is a part of the cogs, and that's why he was so important to phase 2, because he was someone that Shepard trusted, where it's like, okay, I see this young man who grew up like this, and we watched him grow up, and he's become basically as model of a citizen as Shepard feels to be a part of the cogs. And that was a really good scene. I was like, wow, they list off some of the different characters, and we get flashbacks of other episodes and how they're just randomly involved in missions where it's like, I took over for this person, or it's like, this person we find out was actually like a dirty cop or something, or obviously they're higher than just cops, but it's like, I trusted you and stuff like that. So they go through these little flashbacks, and it's like just these people taking over for the bad people, and then of course Weller took over for Mayfair, and it's like, wow, the whole point was for him to actually be one of the cogs, and it's for them to be the new government in case the current government is completely wiped out. And turns out that they're basically step 1 of phase 2, and phase 2 hasn't even truly begun yet. So definitely a great way to end the episode. I'm very excited for this finale. I really don't know what to expect. Like all these things in just one episode, like are they actually going to kill off Shepard? Because I mean, with this type of show, it would be weird to see Shepard go, but at the same time, she wasn't really there in the first season either. It was like she was technically like introduced in this season. It was just she was known. So there's still other characters that could come in and still keep the organization going, but it would just be interesting. And what are they going to do with Roman as far as him either taking over Sandstorm, or at least kind of pushing Shepard out of it to take control himself? How's that sort of thing going to play out? So I'm very curious how they're going to end this season and transition into season 3. Like, what are we going to get? It seems like, they answered all the questions, so the big mystery behind everything seems to be going away. So, what life will the show have heading into season 3 is the big question. So, very curious how things are about to end here, but very excited going into the finale. Certainly thought this was a great episode, but of course, I would love to know what you guys thought about it, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts, and naturally, with the season finale being next week, I just want to know what you guys want to see, what you guys expect to see. Do you think some characters are going to die? There's a lot to look forward to in the finale, and a lot of questions that I think they have to answer, but not necessarily. Considering the show, they might add some new answers, or add some new questions going into season 3. We might just get like whole crazy revelations where it's like, I didn't even think that could make sense, and then something new comes in that totally works. So we just have to wait and see, but I would love to know just what you guys want to see in general, and what theories you guys have for how the season is actually going to end. And like I said, of course, I want to know what you guys thought about this episode, so please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.